It is no secret that the gaming industry as a whole has been in some sort of a slump in the 2020s. Despite the fact that there have been a ton of innovations in gaming hardware, for example, you got next gen consoles coming out in this decade, and you have new graphics cards and things like that. You just have a ton of innovation with gaming hardware. It feels like there has been a big lack of games or a big lack of utilization of next gen hardware. Not to mention the fact that most games that have come out pretty recently in the 2020s have just been unfinished and unpolished, and they have just been absolute messes. I think that this is mainly attributed to, COVID and the quarantine lockdowns, all of that. You know how much it shut down, and the gaming industry in particular took a really big hit, and I think that slowed a lot of things down. Not to mention the fact too that the next console generation had a really hard time picking up some steam early on in the decade, just because of all of this, because there was shortages and everything like that, and developers had a hard time making games for it as a whole. However, right now summer 2024 feels like a turning point, because we just got past all of the gaming showcases that we had to look forward to, and honestly I am impressed. This is the first time in a long time that it feels like we have a lot to look forward to. We had PlayStation State of Play, which showed us a ton of good stuff, and that was the weaker end. We had Nintendo Direct, which looks incredible. There was a ton of stuff there, and we also had the Xbox Showcase, which I think was my favorite showcase out of everything. But overall, I feel like all the showcases that we had over the summer had a ton of like really good looking games, and if you quantify that, there's so much coming out, and it's a really good time to be a gamer, and I haven't felt like this seriously in a long time. I don't know the last time I felt like this. So is the gaming industry going to get back up on its feet regardless of what happened in the early 2020s, and regardless of, slow starts to the next console generations? Let's go ahead and talk about it. The first thing I want to talk about is live service games. Now, a lot of people were upset that there are still live service games coming out. However, I do think that the number of, free-to-play live service games being released all the time is dropping significantly, because companies are realizing that it's not that great of a business model just in general, and it's destined to fail at this point. I mean, you did have things like Concord being revealed at the PlayStation State of Play, but overall I feel like most of the stuff that we saw was actually more single player experiences that we're used to in recent years. And I don't know about you guys, I just feel like as a whole, like this PlayStation State of Play, Nintendo Direct, Xbox Showcase, like with all of the stuff that we saw, it really feels like that free to play live service era, where you got battle passes, everyone's trying to basically copy Fortnite's business model. I feel like that's finally coming to an end, man, and I was real tired of it. I mean, don't get me wrong, we saw some great games, but a lot of them didn't really last, and I'm just so sick of free to play online games, and I feel like that era is dwindling, and we're gonna get back on track to single player games being what's popping, and what's a priority for developers. I also want to touch on remakes and remasters. So it is no secret that in the 2020s we are about to get so many remakes for games that we loved in the 2010s and 2000s. I mean, you got like Perfect Dark, Silent Hill 2 remake, Metal Gear Solid 3 remake, and then you have stuff that's already come out like the Dead Space remake, Resident Evil remakes, all of that, right? And a lot of people generally are supportive of remakes. I am supportive of it, but I have seen some discourse, and I want to talk about it. Some of the discourse is mainly just people saying that it's kind of a nostalgia play, and they're a little bit right. I mean, it kind of is a nostalgia play, and the developers aren't really getting too creative when they just remake a really beloved title. But it is an extremely good thing, especially this point in time. You see, right now, a lot of developers are still kind of in a recovery phase from the massive hit they took from, COVID and lockdowns and whatever. So remakes actually give developers a chance to make a good polished product with something that they are familiar with, and something that they know fans love and will buy. Now, I'm no video game developer, but it cannot be that hard for a video game company to remaster a game from the ground up for next gen. And I'm not, that's not like an insult or anything, but I don't think it would take as many resources as developing a completely new IP and building it from the ground up, all of that, right? Like that, I feel like that's just common sense. So a lot of these developers I feel like are, leaning towards making remakes right now, just so that they can kind of get the ball rolling again, so that they can work on other projects. And I also got no problem with remakes, just because, a lot of new people get to experience some great games they never would experience, because, they don't want to go back to older consoles or anything. So I think remakes overall are generally a good thing right now. And it's good for recovery for, video game developers and all of that. However, I don't want it to, become like oversaturated to where we just start seeing companies making like unfinished remakes and remasters, or like companies like that's all they're doing is making remakes and remasters. They're not releasing anything new whatsoever. Then it could get pretty stale. I could definitely see that. But right now, I do think that, remakes and remasters, that we're seeing are generally really, really good, and it's really healthy for the gaming industry. It's games that fans love. It's optimized for next gen. There's some new content there, and it's good for developers because it doesn't take a lot of resources, and they kind of know what they're doing because they've made the game before. Obviously, all they have to do is just port it over to next gen and polish it up. And obviously, we do have a ton of new IPs to look forward to. For example, Black Myth Wukong, I am super, super excited for. I'm also super excited for Astrobot. Astrobot looks extremely, extremely interesting, and it's really nice to see another company besides Nintendo making fun 3D platformers. Another game on my radar is Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine. Looks actually insane. It's not a new IP, but it's something new to the Warhammer 40,000 franchise, so I'm here for it. It looks awesome. And also, we have a ton of really, really anticipated sequels dropping. For example, new Metroid game, dude. Yes, dude, yes. Looks awesome. Looks so good. And I'm really excited to see this coming to light. And overall, man, like it just feels really, really good to be a gamer. Like there's so much to be that was, announced, and there's so much to be released that it could be like a 20-minute video going over all of it. I feel like most of you guys did watch the showcases, and if you guys haven't already, dude, go check out some stuff, because there's a lot there. There's a lot that all of these companies are cooking up, and it just feels really good to be a gamer, because it feels like there's more care for the consumer again. We have a lot of promise, and hope to look forward to, and I'm really excited about it. It's been a rough couple years, dude, to like video games. Like, don't get me wrong, there have been some good video games that have come out in the 2020s so far, but it feels like we've had a lot more L's than wins. And I don't know, I feel like, early in the 2010s, I specifically remember like the Xbox 360 era. I feel like there was like a certain time of year, which was around like summer or whatever, you had E3, and there was a ton of games being announced, and then around like fall, October-ish is when all those games would come out. So it was like kind of like a schedule, and it was really, really fun to be a gamer, because you always had that time to look forward to. And it feels like we kind of lost that over the years. But with this most recent summer and all the showcases, it really, really feels like that is starting to return, and I'm here for it. I'm super happy. Let me know what game you guys are looking forward to the most, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.